Burdens exchanged. Life reframed. CCFM 107.5, changing lives for good.
So midweek moment it is, and just thinking that today is the last Wednesday for the month of November. It's also the last day for the month of November, and as the year draws closer to the end, I'm sure a lot of all of us are kind of like we think back and we reflect about the year. And just thinking back of 2022, what has happened, and like we were discussing earlier on, we think about all the moments. But something that's kind of crazy is that the mind kind of always seems to think of the negative. We always go and look at the worst things that happen rather than all the blessings that God has been so faithful and good. And it just reminded me of in Joshua 4, after Moses has died and he doesn't enter into the promised land because of his lack of faith in God. And then Joshua then takes the Israelites into the promised land. And then as he goes through, God says to Joshua that he needs to take 12 stones from the middle of the river Jordan. And he says, take 12 stones to represent the 12 tribes, and where you sleep, that's where you're going to lay it out. And I think it's so on point and so incredible with just the whole, the 12 stones, we're entering the 12th month. And I love it when, God says to him, take the 12 stones, right? And he says to the Israelites, in the future, when you and your descendants ask their fathers, what do these stones mean? Tell them Israel crossed the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the Jordan before you until you had crossed over. The Lord your God did to the Jordan just what he had done to the Red Sea. And when he dried it up before us until he had us cross over, he did this so that all the people of the earth might know that the hand of the Lord is powerful, and so that you might always fear the Lord your God. And then I was just, thinking it's so on point because today is the last day for the month of November. Tomorrow we start the 12th month for 2022. And as you start to reflect about all the things that has happened in the year, I want to challenge you that maybe if you need to be practical and you want to just take paper and take every month for the year, but think of those miracles, big or small, that God has brought you through. And I know it's not going to take long before you can have a list of things that He's done last month and the month before and the month before that. And I want you to remind yourself that just like how he brought you and your family through maybe when you didn't have a job or when you didn't know how you were going to get to that situation. And for this entire year, all the bad things you were thinking of that has happened, start thinking about all the goods that God has done. He's a faithful God and He is a good God and a good Father. And tell your story and make sure you share it because you have your kids, and let them know so that they will know. And not because you need to remind God about it, but because you need to remind yourself about the faithfulness of God. You are blessed and you have a good God. And just remind yourself, keep telling your story. And just like the Israelites did so with the 12 stones, so that they can remember, take the 12 months and remind yourself of what God has done in your life.